Hey everyone, JaLynn Manser here. I live in the Phoenix, Arizona downtown area metro, and I am here to talk to you about how you too can level up by utilizing the power and leverage of lease options. So let me ask you a question. How many of you would like to add an extra 1 to 3 deals or more to your pipeline and to your funnel, your closings every month? Wouldn't that be amazing? Well, I will tell you, my business, I've been doing lease options for about the past 6 years. It comprises about 95% of my production and closing on average about 6 to 8 deals a month. So I don't know what your market is like, but my average market here is about a $400,000 to $500,000 price point at a 2.5% commission. You guys can do the math on that. So my story, real quick, I basically went from a stay-at-home mom 6 years ago to a single mom of 3 lovely daughters. I ended up becoming a barista at Starbucks. I just thought that would be a good idea. So one day, one of the title officers came in from Stewart Title. We got to talking and she said, "Hey, JaLynn, you know what? You would be a great title rep for Stewart Title." I'm like, "Great. What's that?" So long story short, through the process of going through interviews, becoming hired as a title rep for Stewart Title, I started, calling on realtors, and all of a sudden I started getting a bunch of title orders from this guy named Brian Taylor. And so I was like, "Thank you for the business." And the buyer was this investor called HPA US1 LLC. I was like, "What the heck is that?" I kept getting all these title orders. So that is how I originally discovered lease options. And I'm going to go into the different ways and different companies you can utilize in order to do your lease option business. But first and foremost, many of you might be wondering, what the heck is a lease option anyway? I know that it can be commonly referred to out there as rent to own. I know a lot of the rent to own programs or people doing it out there, to be quite frank, it's a bit scammy. How they typically work is the landlord or owner of the home might require an option deposit up front of, let's say, $10,000 to $20,000, and they give you the option to buy the home. It could be at a preset price, or it could be whatever that home is at market value at the time when the tenant goes to actually purchase the home. So the reason why those typically aren't a good deal for the tenant is, number one, they make the monthly rent so super elevated, and supposedly a portion of the rent goes towards the purchase. However, typically the seller and the landlord makes the back end right to purchase price so super elevated that that tenant will actually never be able to buy the house because it will never appraise. So that's what a typical sort of scammy rent to own is. And so what I do is different. I do strictly lease options. It's strictly you're helping renters essentially get into a home, and they're renting with purpose. They're renting the home for as long as they like, but they also have the option to buy the home at a preset price. Now, with the lease option, it can be hugely beneficial for the resident because, let's just use as an example a $400,000 house, and this resident is paying a monthly rent of, let's say, $2,300. They're just paying rent. They're going to be renting anyway, so why not rent someplace where they actually have the option to purchase it, right? So let's say they're paying rent and then they decide to exercise their right to purchase, which they're going to know upfront what that right to purchase price is. So let's say that the investor, the company, purchased that home for $400,000 all in with closing costs and everything. That resident would technically have the right to purchase that home for roughly about $425,000 to $430,000. Now, let's say that that same home a year from now is actually worth closer to $500,000. guess what? That resident is locked in at that $425, $430 price because that's what they agreed upon up front before they even signed the price. So you can see how lease options can benefit the tenant because they're going to have all of this built-in equity, right? Conversely, let's say that the market decides to go in the other direction and that same home, when they go to buy it, is only worth $400,000 instead of 425, what their right to purchase price is. So they have the option at that point in time to walk away. They're not locked in. There's zero obligation. I'm going to go into a little bit more details further into the presentation. That's basically what a lease option is. Now, who are lease options actually good for? And how is this going to benefit you as far as the agent to generate more business? So lease options can be really good for somebody who is simply looking for a nicer place to rent. They want to get out of their apartment building. They want to get into an actual home. Lease option could be good for somebody who is really trying to buy right now, but they simply don't qualify because they don't have the down payment saved up. Because typically, as most of you realtors know, in order to buy a house, unless you qualify for a no money down payment assistance program, you're going to have to come up with a minimum of 3.5% to go FHA, 3%, somewhere in there. So most people simply don't have the down payment in order to buy the home. Or maybe it's somebody who simply their credit score isn't quite good enough. So a lease option is good for those people who are building their credit, trying to get it up there into, the 700s where they will be able to get a lower interest rate. So with the lease options, they're able to get locked into a home now and take that time to save up for the down payment, work on their credit score, and be able, when they're ready to buy the home, they'll have money and a better credit, so they'll be able to buy it, get a better interest rate. It's all good. Lease options they can be good for people who are self-employed. They have a really difficult time proving income in order to qualify for a traditional mortgage. So with a lot of the lease option companies, a lot of different types of income can be considered, like, bank statements, deposits from Venmo, PayPal, Zelle, Cash App, all of that can be considered for income. Another great thing about lease options and who it would be good for, somebody that just transferred to a new city and state, maybe they just started a new job. Most lenders do require at least 2 years of solid income history with W-2s, pay stubs, tax returns. With qualifying somebody to get approved to go with lease option, you simply need anywhere from only 2 to 4 months of income, or you could possibly just use an offer letter or transfer letter stating what that pay rate is, the start date is, the location, etc. So it's much easier to qualify to get somebody into a home using the lease options. Another great person that lease options are good for is somebody who just went through a bankruptcy. Most lenders, depending on the type of financing, are going to require either 2 years or 4 years of bankruptcy seasoning in order to get you qualified, whether you're trying to go FHA or conventional. The nice thing about lease options, depending on which company you go with, and I'll go over that later, but one of our investors we work with, they only require that your bankruptcy be discharged just yesterday. It can be discharged one day ago, and they can get you qualified to get into a lease option home. So other than that, it could be this program could be good for somebody who simply just wants to try before they buy. They want to test out the market. They're not sure where their market's going to go. They're going to be renting anyway. So why not rent a place where if they decide a year from now, yes, we love the neighborhood, we love the home, we want to move forward, let's go for it. So we talked about what is a lease option. We talked about who are lease options good for. Let's talk about right now, how do you actually find these lease option clients? really good resources for finding these clients who are perfect for a lease option program. A wonderful resource is reach out to your lender partners, find out, give them a call. Hey, do you have any borrowers you're having struggles with qualifying them? Maybe they were already in escrow and something happened where they went out and purchased a car and jacked up their overall DTI, their debt to income ratio. And so that escrow is falling apart. Those borrowers, you could step in and get them into a lease option, have one of the investors purchase the home for them. They're going to pay cash, and then they can take the time they need to get their DTI back down where it needs to be and, actually qualify to buy the home within a few short months. So that's a really great resource. Reach out to those lenders, find out who they're working with that just got turned down. They're not able to get qualified right now for whatever reason, whether it's down payment or credit score. Facebook Marketplace is another great place. You can post ads from EXP listings, whether they're for EXP rental listings or homes that are listed for sale. And I'll go into how that works here in a little bit. But basically, you're looking for people who are looking to rent. You're looking for renters, somebody who's looking to rent a home. So Craigslist is another great place. That's how we get the majority of our leads. And I would say 50% of our deals that we close come from Craigslist. Believe it or not, you do get a lot of people calling you and wondering if it's a scam. And of course, you have to reassure them. And luckily, we have enough collateral on our social media and website showing that, hey, we're real people. We're not going to scam you. We also have tons of testimonials and people for them to call just to verify. And, if you want to meet us in our office downtown, we're happy to meet you face to face as well. So Craigslist, and then rental listings, as I mentioned, you can take other people's EXP rental listings and you can promote them on your social media with the listing agent's permission, of course. And you can attract people who are looking to rent that home. And let's say that particular rental home doesn't necessarily fit what they're looking for. You can propose the lease option to them and say, hey, how would you like the opportunity to have a much broader pool of homes to choose from? Instead of looking at existing inventory, how about we get you pre-qualified to rent? You pick out the home you want to rent for the next year or two. Our company, the company we work with, they're going to buy the home for you. They're going to pay cash. You can buy it whenever you're ready. And so most people get really, really excited about that. The fact that they're able to get a rental home and have a lot more inventory to choose from. And it's really, really a great way for them to find a place to live. As I mentioned, regular EXP listings, you can actually promote EXP listings that are for sale, and you can market it as, this home is potentially available for our lease option program. Send me a message to inquire today how that works. So property management companies are also a great resource. You can reach out to them and say, hey, do you have an excess of renters calling you, trying to get into your rental properties, and you just simply have nowhere to put them? Well, let me help you. I can help get them into a rental home. Quite happy to pay you a referral fee. And they're quite happy to hand over these leads to you that they're not able to get into homes themselves, or perhaps they have much more stringent qualifications than what you have. And so they're really, really happy that you're able to help their clients get into a rental home. So let's see here. So those are some resources for finding leads. Now, okay, this is my favorite part. I love talking about the different lease option companies. Now, there are 4 that I am aware of. The top 3 I have worked with personally, and I'm going to talk about the differences of each. So Home Partners, and please, by all means, check your local market because some of these companies might not be available. So just do a search in your local market to find out what companies are available. So Home Partners, I love them because I've used them personally. I typically don't sell a product that I haven't used myself. So I'm not only an agent representing Home Partners of America, I'm an actual client. My husband and I used them to purchase a home for us up in Anthem, which is North Phoenix, about year and a half, 2 years ago. So I'm going to give you a real life example of how this works with Home Partners. So Home Partners purchased a home for us to rent, and they bought it for $350,000. This was in October of 2021. Wait, 2020. Anyway, doesn't matter. So they bought it for $350,000. Our option price at that point in time, which we knew up front we were locked in, was $367,000. So they take, what they paid for it, plus any closing costs, plus any potential like make ready repairs, right? So we had the option to buy that house for $367,000. So last year, we actually bought the house. We put it in our names. We bought it directly from Home Partners. So it was just at that point, just a straight for sale by owner transaction. The appraisal came in at $538,000. Guess what? We got to buy it for $367,000. How amazing is that? I'm like blown away. I'm like so excited about this. I tell the entire world about Home Partners. I love them so much. So that's Home Partners. They basically get the tenants pre-qualified to rent. You take the tenants out shopping for homes that are available for Home Partners to purchase. The tenant moves in about 45 days later after we go under contract. They can rent the home as long as they want to. The rent price is going to be locked in for 5 years. The rent is not going to be arbitrarily increased each year by $300, $400, $500. It's also locked in at a preset amount, which is roughly about 3% increase year over year. So that's really nice, really gives renters a lot of reassurance knowing that their rent is not going to go up dramatically year over year. So the tenant can rent the home as long as they want, or they can exercise their right to purchase anytime after they move in up until the end of year 5. So figure if you can't get yourself in a position to buy the house within that 5-year period, then I'm not doing my job in educating you enough as to what you need to do and the steps you need to take to get your credit improved and save that down payment and actually achieve the goal of home ownership. So I'm super passionate about helping renters get into homes and then actually helping them buy it. So that's Home Partners in a nutshell. And they do purchase homes in 45 markets. So hopefully, Google them. Hopefully they're in your market or nearby, close enough to where you could, help renters get into homes there. Another great program that I love and we've used also personally ourselves, as a company called Trio. Now, Trio is different from Home Partners. They're not a cash buyer. They actually have their own in-house FHA loan. Same premise, you get the tenant pre-qualified to rent, you take them out shopping, Trio purchases the home for the tenant can rent the home. There is a savings portion that goes towards the purchase. It's anywhere from 1% to 2%, depending on your credit score and the amount of down payment that you put down. So we also used Trio to purchase a home for us down in downtown Phoenix. Now, the cool thing about Trio is if you're able to qualify within that 24-month period, they actually give you a 36-month worth of credits for having been a good girl or a good boy and paying your rent on time for 24 months. And they also allow you to assume the FHA loan. So basically, even though you've been paying rent, you've been paying down that FHA mortgage the whole time. So example on that one, Trio paid $325,000 for that home for us in downtown Phoenix. This was a couple of years ago. Our normal option price is roughly $362,000 if we elect not to assume the FHA loan. Let's say that we don't qualify because we have very non-traditional type income, as most realtors do, right? So we actually have the option to assume that FHA loan for only $319,000. I'm like, what? The home right now, I ran some quick comps and looked on Redfin. It's worth probably close to $450,000. So we're definitely in a good equity position. We're probably going to turn around and flip it and sell it and pocket the cash. But just wanted to help you guys understand and realize the power of not only helping people to get into homes utilizing lease options, but how it could actually benefit you as well if you wanted to do it yourself. Like, why not? Another investor that I love working with is called Divvy. They're similar to Home Partners. They're also a cash buyer. They do close a lot faster. And the nice thing about Divvy is they don't have any restrictions on where you can buy a home versus Home Partners. They have little pockets of neighborhoods where you're restricted to buying homes. Certain zip codes and areas are not allowed because they're not in approved school districts or whatnot. Divvy, they don't care where you want to buy a home as long as it's in a major metro area. They don't have like approved high school zones or zip codes. Now, with Divvy, a portion of the rent does go towards the purchase. They do have a couple of different options there, but they call it a forced savings. And if you are anything like me, I am a horrible saver. So Divvy is really geared towards somebody who's truly wanting to become a homeowner here in the next 18 months to 36 months. Divvy is a great option. It will help get your client in the position to actually be able to purchase the home. Now, Pathway is not one that I am personally experienced with, but I've seen them all over the place. I think they're pretty similar to Home Partners, but I would definitely check them out. And then let's see here. Here are my socials. Here's how to connect with me. We've got all sorts of videos on my YouTube channel talking about lease options. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, or send me a message on Workplace Chat if you would like some more information on how to do lease options and how to cultivate leads, even if it's utilizing KV Core, and exactly if you want more information on how we do it as far as generating leads and creating more business and helping more people. I would love to chat with you. Let's connect.